Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 1st, 2022 Town Board meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Jeff Renahan, first ward.
Bill Carlos, second ward.
Ann Berger, third ward.
Michael Safon, fourth ward.
Stefan Krakauer, fifth ward.
Ann Schuster, sixth ward.
Jessica Morin, Deputy Town Clerk.
Jim Nelson, attorney for the town.
John Baisley, Town Supervisor. Good evening, welcome, everybody. Tonight's agenda, we have three public hearings. First public hearing is a zoning amendment for tattoo parlors. The second public hearing is a code amendment, Chapter 210 zoning, in addition, Chapter 145 outdoor music. Number 3 is a public hearing on local law for video conferencing technology for meetings. 4 is promote Sergeant Laszlo Toth to police lieutenant. 5, promote police officer Ryan Watt to police sergeant. 6, promote Lieutenant Ralph Cropley to police captain. 7, authorize contracts with Chief Cavalieri, Captain O'Dowd, and Captain Cropley. 8, approve surplus police vehicle sale to Ulster Community College. 9, approve Vassar College alumni and alumni reunion fireworks. 10, approve a block party for Hollow Lane to be held on June 11th. 11, a notification of liquor license. And 12, approve American Legion Car Show to be held on June 4th. At this point, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for any item on the agenda.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
And ask anybody who's going to speak to please limit it to 3 minutes. Is there anybody who'd like to speak on any agenda item? This is your time.
If there's any interest.
Not motion to resume the rules.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to move items 4, 5, and 6 be done first.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Councilman Renahan.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the promotion of Sergeant Laszlo Toth, to the permanent position of police lieutenant at the yearly salary of $124,926.12, subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law, effective June 1st, 2022. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations, Sergeant. Congratulations, sir.
Congratulations. Long time.
Councilman Carlos.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the promotion of police officer Ryan Watt to the permanent position of police sergeant at the yearly salary of $114,702.39, subject to a probationary period of not less than 8, no more than 26 weeks per civil service law, effective June 1st, 2022. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations, Sergeant.
All right. Be
it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the promotion of Lieutenant Ralph Cropley to the permanent position of police captain at the yearly salary of $139,917.25, subject to a probationary period of not less than 8 nor more than 26 weeks per civil service law, effective June 1st, 2022. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to execute and file all documentation required by the Dutchess County Department of Human Resources in connection with this appointment. So moved.
Second.
Get a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Congratulations, Captain Cropper.
Work every portion. Yeah.
Deserve You know, you can all feel free to stay the night.
Oh, right.
You can go down the hallway if you want.
No.
Quiet. To the beginning of our agenda. First item on the agenda is a public hearing for zoning amendment for chapter 210 tattoo parlors. I'd like to make a motion to open that public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody here to speak in that? And I also ask them to please limit to 3 minutes. Anybody here to speak on the tattoo parlors? This is your turn to speak.
Okay.
Anybody? Going once?
Wait, no, wait, hold on.
Yes, could I say
Motion.
something?
Sure.
If it's in relation to tattoo parlors, yes.
It is. Yeah, I just,
Please state your name.
oh my goodness, I heard, this is going back quite a ways, but that,
Could you please state your name?
sure, it's Michelle.
Squires?
Yes, and such a while ago, and I don't know if, the tattoo parlors have updated their technique or their chemicals, but, I was just wondering if they actually do have a disclosure, having to do with the ink being carcinogenic that's used. I mean, I love the art part, but, it's the ink that, of course, I have a question about, and what are we doing to our young people who are getting tattooed all over the place? And, I was also curious about what they feel about RFID chipping. Because, the way I see things going is, there's going to be an attempt to make it even more cool using the artists that are so talented when it comes to tattooing, and then, introduce the chip that way. So, I have mixed feelings about tattoo parlors. Like I said, I so appreciate art. I really do. But, I think there should be some kind of disclaimer. There probably is some kind of disclaimer that comes with the ink that may be used, or maybe the ink is safer now. I really don't know. But, I'm just thinking about the health aspect of it, and I would I would probably get really pissed off at my my offspring if they went off and got tattooed. But it's people's choice what they want to do. It's just informed consent is a really beautiful thing. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make the motion to close the first public hearing.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Stoll?
Be it enacted, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie pursuant to a duly noticed public hearing held on May 4th, 2022 and June 1st, 2022 at 7 PM at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, New York, does hereby adopt local amendments, Chapter 210 entitled zoning, specifically to 210-22 entitled Arlington Town Center District, 21035 entitled Business Highway District, and 21074 entitled Home Occupations related to tattoo parlors, and be further enacted that the local law amendments are annexed hereto as Exhibit A and incorporated herein as if recited verbatim, with the words underlined to be added and those words stricken to be deleted. And the town board does direct that said amendments be spread across the record as if they in fact had been read verbatim. And be it further enacted, town board has previously declared its intent to act as lead agency on the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and does declare said action to be a type 1 action under New York State Environmental Quality Review Act seeker. And be it further enacted, town board has reviewed the long environmental assessment form prepared by the Director of Municipal Development and hereby determines that 1, the adoption of the herein zoning amendment would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and 2, the supervisors authorized to execute parts 2 and 3 of the EAF as drafted, and 3, a draft environmental impact statement will not be required for the reasons set forth in the attached determination of no significance, and 4, a negative declaration is hereby issued. And be it further enacted that a written recommendation was received from the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Economic Development dated May 5th, 2022, stating that the proposed amendment was a matter of local concern. And be it further enacted that a written recommendation dated May 20th, 2022 was received from the Town of Poughkeepsie Planning Board, in which said board recommended adoption of the herein amendments. And be it further enacted, the legal notice of public hearing was posted on April 15th, 2022 and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on April 21st, 2022. And be it further enacted that the town clerk notified the clerks of the surrounding municipalities of the public hearing pursuant to GML 239-NN. And be it further enacted, the said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second.
Get a motion second. Any further questions on this one?
Yeah, I'd just like to speak as a mother who has a son who has 4 tattoos on his body, that this is the first time I've heard of concerns about carcinogens in the ink. And most tattoo artists I know have a significant number of tattoos themselves. So I'm pretty sure this has been regulated and taken care of. And as for this, we've already we had grandfathered in at least 3 tattoo parlors in the town of Poughkeepsie. And to the best of my knowledge, there's been no problems or difficulties with this. And this is just opening up in 2 areas of the town. So we can allow some new businesses in. And the tattoo parlors, the new ones I've seen too, have reasonable hours from like 10 to 7. And when I was home in Wisconsin, my mother has one around the corner from her and they were 10 to 7 too. So it's more of a salon experience now than what used to be known as a tattoo parlor.
Anybody else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. This is the public hearing number 2, code amendment, chapter 210 zoning, in addition to chapter 145 outdoor music. I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing 2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody that would like to discuss public hearing number 2?
Yep. I would like to say something about the music.
Go ahead, please ask to keep it.
Okay, great. You know what? I was reading actually the ordinance for the music that was included in the meeting agenda, and I just found it so interesting that we are able to have local control over music. That it shouldn't exceed 60 dBA, measured, 100 feet from sources, and the permit shall be produced at the premises by request of any enforcement officer that measurements will be made, and if there are any violations, there'll be penalties, and a way to raise money, as much as $2,500 for violators. And there'd be a revocation of the permit if it's a repeated offense, that sound amplification from the interior of the principal structure is prohibited, such that, it's produced from a source that is no less than 150 feet from the nearest residential use. I mean, all of this is called local control. And I think it's really important that, of course, the public is in agreement with all this, because this is an example of local control where, there aren't any implications against a town that wants to set up their own ordinance. So again, noise is something that the wireless industry refers to its product as. It is noise. So I can't understand why there may be any resistance to setting up our own local ordinances when it comes to the noise that Wi-Fi or any kind of RF microwave radiation emitted from infrastructure, why it can't be regulated kind of like music or sound, because you can have a sound that's pleasurable, and then you can have sounds that puncture your eardrums. And I think that's the direction that we're going to when we look at the metaphor of music to, quote unquote noise from RF microwave radiation. This is killing us slowly but surely. And then the frequencies is going to be turned up. And then again, we do not have any experts that know anything about converging signals. So it's kind of like you're sitting at a restaurant, you got jazz in one corner, you got R&B in another corner, and then you have rap in another corner, and you're sitting in the middle of all of that, and you don't think your cells
Michelle, can you wrap it up?
really? So, I really invite the board to be curious about setting something up like this with the help of the gentleman that I've mentioned in the past, who told me that that is an awesome way to look at how we might regulate this and then make money for the town
Michelle, your
for
3 minutes.
violators who go beyond. So that's what I wanted to say about music. And please, consider what I just said and invite Paul in, and he can talk to you guys about it. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
Hello.
Felicia?
I just had a couple things. I don't know if it said in there something about the Arlington Town Center and that only being non-amplified or something like that.
I'm bringing that up in a minute, Felicia.
Okay. Okay. And then one other question. As far as the permits issued through the town clerk's office, I believe it said something about that it would be good for a year from the date of when they get it. Most of the other permits that we do are calendar year. And I think as far as music goes, that might be better because then, they can remember to get their permit like in the months of January and it'll all be in place rather than doing it, if they get one now, it'll be good till the end of December, and then going forward, they would always get it in January. I just think it's easier to keep track of.
I think that makes a lot of sense, Felicia.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't get to read the whole thing because I'm on vacation again, but, I you would think I've read it back and forth, but I love outdoor music, but I do, I do worry about it a little bit close to residential because from my house, I can hear, different music, sometimes from the bowling alley when they have the door open, but there are occasions when I can hear it coming from the Arlington Town Center a little bit, and I don't really live that close. So, everybody says, how music, it's interesting how you can not hear it when you're closer, and then some places further away do hear it. I mean, I love music. I am all for outdoor music. I really am, but I don't know how I would feel if there was a place doing it every Friday and Saturday night. Very near to my house at loud levels, but that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions. There's no restriction as to what days they can do it, correct? Or is it? Okay, so I know we had originally discussed having that in there. And then the police, building inspector, zoning administrator can enforce it. Is the only enforceability based on the decibel level and the time? Is that the only criteria?
What else would you be thinking?
Reasonableness. There's got something that, because I think the problem that we've had with noise before is that we don't, I mean, do the police have anything to measure the actual decibels of the noise?
They have a dozen.
All the police cars do?
Every
No.
car has
So
it.
they
They
have-
one.
We have one?
Yeah.
So, okay, and building, zoning, do they have a decibel reader?
No.
Meter?
We talked to the zoning about
Could I-
getting.
Because I know that in the past, enforcement of the noise ordinance has been problematic because it's hard to actually verify that it's an unreasonable, that it's above that level. So my thought would be to put something in here that gave discretion back to our police department, zoning administrator, and building department to where they could decide that it's unreasonable. And the other thing, I guess, is the only time where they violated the ordinance is if they're above that level. If we have a situation where, I mean, Felicia had mentioned, you have 1,000 calls from one person, it's one thing, but if you have 1,000 calls from 1,000 different people every weekend, that's probably really disrupting an area. And
And we can.
we can't, on the front end, figure out where that's gonna happen, but my guess is that'll happen somewhere. So my concern is we're gonna have an ordinance where we allow something, but we don't have the authority to really enforce it tightly if we need
A lot
to.
of those things besides the noise, I think we'd have other zoning ordinances that we could enforce for a lot of them. If it's, an overpopulated crowd or something like that, there's other ways to shut them down, safety concerns and things like that. So there are, that's something we can look into. We can discuss further.
Yeah.
The chief would always add that on.
I just
later on.
think, Is the word unreasonable in there? Looking at this, it just doesn't seem like we're gonna be able to stop somebody that's just making a mess in an area. Right? Well, And- we had and- this, and it- well, we did this when we were talking about the oil terminal down in New Hamburg and the noise ordinance for that. The word unreasonable is there. So the way I've seen that enforced is the person calls up and says, I can hear whatever it is that's in violation of the ordinance. And I would go to the house and go inside and stand in his bedroom. And if I could hear the noise, that was unreasonable. Right, well, that's what I'm saying. With this, it seems like you need to have that decibel meter in order to do that. And that makes it unenforceable for everybody but one person who's got that meter, which becomes a problem because if the police go out and say, this is ridiculous, this is just completely out of hand, and the person goes, well, I got to copy the local law, and where's your meter? And unless your meter is showing I'm above that, you can't tell me to turn it off until 10 p.m.
Is repeated for more than a half hour after issuance of a notice of violation. They prosecute on a different offense also.
Right, but it's,
I know what you're talking about.
I'd like to move this forward, but I think we're passing a law that we're not gonna be able to enforce. And that's problematic because you just might as well say everybody can do it.
Well, one, they can, it's only like 2 zones in the whole town. So,
No,
yeah. No, I know
Okay.
what you're saying, but we also, they can violate them, then they have to come here to us. Once they cancel the permit, they have to come to us for hearing. We're the mechanism that once they do get a violation for a weekend, they have to come to us. So we pull the permit. So there is a.
You know what you might do, pardon me for interrupting, is the concept of noise measurement and prosecution is, it's interesting, and there's a lot of stuff out there. And if, as Mr. Krakauer suggested, he's inclined to move this through, we could then have a conversation about having other criteria for violations. And we can talk about reasonableness. I just think it's something we might want to talk, you might. wanna talk
Do we
about.
have that currently in our ordinance for noise violations?
We do have reasonableness based on the neighborhood.
Right, because that came up in your end of town. So that's why that's popping in my head, is it came up because we had issues with noise, but we couldn't really enforce it because the proof was difficult without the noise meter. And by the time you bust out the noise meter, they've turned it down and you don't have a violation right there. So if you could say, it's been loud all night, we showed up with the meter and it's not, we don't have anything registering that it's loud, but haven't violated anything. So that's where whatever language we have currently for a violation or a noise ordinance should probably be in this so that we have the ability to say, turn it off. Give our police the discretion when they're out there if there's a problem. Hopefully there wouldn't be, because if anybody's going out to get a permit and then they decide to just blast it, if they really thought it was going to help their business, they're going to end up losing that ability to do it going forward. But I just don't want to have a situation where you have weekend after weekend after weekend, you have numerous people calling and you go, geez, I didn't even realize that you could, Felicia said she can hear Arlington Town Center. I had a neighbor who had a kid who was in a teenage garage band. I just remember that thing going on and on and on. Never called the police on them, never called the town on them, but it does start to get like it's annoying after a
The
while.
problem is, at least,
And they never got better, so that was even worse.
so the other problem is the way the law is crafted, unreasonable noise for the neighborhood it's in, trying to get that through to people sometimes is a little difficult because everybody sees that 10 o'clock. It's not always 10 o'clock. There are going to be some times where, hey, it's 9 o'clock. And guess what? It is unreasonable for a neighborhood to have this. So that's one of the things I've been battling for a while. That 10 o'clock is not the end all. That is at a certain point. But if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you've been banging the music all day long in a residential neighborhood. It is, you have a right to enjoy your home.
But I think there should
I
be some
see
other
we-
criteria in here to allow the enforcement of this ordinance. Otherwise, I think it's gonna be tough to enforce. Or just end up going unenforced.
Yeah, it says violate any provision, but you're right. What is the provision? I think we should pass it, go and then sit with the chief and come up with something that we have to tighten it up.
Yeah. I'm fine passing because we're not, until we issue permits, we don't have any potential problems. But I just,
Well,
it just doesn't.
anything we pass for this, I want it tied into reasonableness for college parties as well.
No,
No, because there's still a lot of problems down there where people think that 10 o'clock's the end all, they could just jack up the noise.
Right.
Chief, you guys did a great job this year, but I still had a lot of problems. But you guys did a wonderful job down there.
When I look at it, I just don't see how we enforce it that well. That's my concern, but we pass it, we can issue permits based on who's coming through the door and we can tweak it as we go.
And they have to have site plan, bring in their site plan, make sure they have an outdoor dining site plan in place to have the proper, setbacks and things like that. So there's a process to go through. And if we revoke it, it comes to us. If there's complaints, sort of like, we're almost like a liquor license, type of
Right.
authority. They have to come to us to get it back.
Right.
They just can't go and pay a fine and get it back. They have to come to the board and get it back.
Okay.
Yes, Felicia.
Sorry about that. So you're saying site plan, so nobody can do this until they have a permit? Because I've seen quite a few advertisements for live music going forward this summer already. I'm just curious, can they do that without their permit or they have to get their permit first?
I have to get the permit first.
Okay.
Anybody have anything else?
And also, it's hard for zoning and building because most of these things are going to be on the weekend nights, so it's only going to be the police. Because building and zoning don't work on Friday and Saturday nights. So they probably should get more of those meters, truthfully.
Are they expensive?
Husband said no, he has one.
Anybody got anything else? I'd like to make a motion that on 145-4 term of permit, to make it from, permit runs from January 1st to December 31st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And also on 145-7. I'd like to make the motion, amend the proposed local law to allow amplified music in both of the districts, because a lot of these people, even with small, speakers that they're in, say, one of the small restaurants, whether it's, Blue Stone or Savona or something, a small speaker, that would take them out of code. If it's just somebody with a guitar and a small speaker, I think they should be the same in both of those spots.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And a motion on the resolution itself. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to
Who moved that? I'm sorry.
I think I did.
Mike.
Second.
Yeah, I'd like to make
Me.
a motion that annual application and permit fee for outdoor music be $125.
It's a separate motion.
Separate motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes 7-0. That brings us to public hearing number 3, local law, video conferencing technology for meetings. Make a motion to open public hearing number 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Doreen?
Thank you. So I'm glad that there's going to be expanded use of video conferencing to allow people to continue to participate through Zoom. I think it's really good for people to have that opportunity. The only thing I want to say is that I had attended a webinar from the Office of Open Government, specifically on the expanded use of video conferencing and the focus on the extraordinary circumstances. The only thing I wanted to point out, which they have in their model law, and I didn't see it in yours, is that if any members of the public body are going to participate using extraordinary circumstance reason, then all members must be heard, seen, and identified. So basically, you can't have a static photo. So that would make you non-compliant. It has to be an active video under section 103A2D. So I just wanted to point that out. Otherwise, I think it's a good thing to be doing. So thank you.
No, I agree. The fact that, we're only capable of doing with 3 boards right now because of the cost of getting somebody in here to do the rest of them. This is a start. And I think we had a very good participation during the pandemic from the public and our board members of making it here. I think actually this is probably one of the things we learned through the pandemic that's a positive. Is there anybody else?
Yes, I'd like to say something having to do with the sound quality of some of our meetings. That there have been people that have spoken, applicants sometimes, as well as members of the public, where for some reason the audio gets very distorted to the point where you really don't want to listen, and you have to continually turn up and turn down your own sound to accommodate the varying levels of, decibel levels, as well as really some very muddy transmissions, so that the person's voice and what they're saying is garbled. And in one instance, someone's testimony was completely erased or manipulated so that their sound went completely off during their sharing their evidence to the board. So, I'm not going to say that it was intentional, but I think we need to pay a little bit more attention if we're going to do this, going forward, to the sound quality and the volume, making a volume adjustments appropriate, because otherwise nobody wants to listen unless that's the goal. No one wants to listen to these things, but they are really very important. But it has, I will tell you, as someone who does listen in from time to time, it's quite disturbing. You've had applicants who, I just could not take any time to listen to because they were either so muffled. I think this was recent. This is like the May 5th meeting. I think it was May 5th, May 4th. The gentleman with a beard, he might have been an architect or an engineer. So you just did not want to listen because it was so hard to distinguish what he was saying. I don't know how the town board understood him, but I certainly had trouble. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. That is sometimes controllable on our end, and sometimes people aren't close to the mic. They're not speaking up. They have a bad connection. So we can work on some of those issues. Some of them I think that may be out of our control for someone, but we'll do our
Yeah,
working over. Thank you.
maybe a little tweaking sometimes. Thank you.
Well, is there anybody else that would like to speak in this public hearing? If not, make a motion to close this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Krakauer.
Be it resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie pursuant to a public hearing held on June 1, 2022 at 7 PM at the Town Hall, Town of Poughkeepsie, 1 Overrock Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Legal notice of which public hearing was posted on May 19, 2022 and published in the Poughkeepsie Journal on May 22, 2022. Does hereby adopt a local law, Town Code Chapter 2-A entitled "A Local Law Authorizing Certain Uses of Video Conferencing Technology," a copy of which is annexed at Exhibit A here too, having waived a verbatim reading of Exhibit A and directed that it be spread across the record as if it in fact had been read verbatim. And be it resolved, the town board does, separate from the adoption of the next local law, adopt the video conferencing and public participation policy and procedures attached here to as Exhibit B. And be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie has determined that the adoption of this local law and this policy are a type 2 action requiring no environmental review. And be it further enacted that said local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Secretary of State. So moved.
Second. Got a motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 7-0.
Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby authorize the supervisor to execute agreements between the town of Poughkeepsie and the town of Poughkeepsie Chief of Police Joseph Cavalieri, Police Captain Michael O'Donnell, and Police Captain Ralph Crowley, all in substantially the forms annexed here to. So moved.
Second. Got a motion second. Any questions on this? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 7-0. Be it resolved, the town board of town of Poughkeepsie, having received a communication from Oil Center Manager Brian Porter, to declare 2020 Ford Explorer police vehicle to be surplus and is hereby approved the sale of said vehicle to Ulster County Community College as follows. Number 1, 2020 Ford Explorer, VIN number 1FM5K AB1LGA97490, mileage 78,104 miles for a price of $28,500. Be it further resolved, that the town board does authorize the sale of said vehicle for the total sum of $28,500. Be it further resolved that this is a type 2 action in the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, requires no environmental review. So moved.
Second.
The motion second. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Whereas the town board of town of Poughkeepsie has heretofore received an application from Vassar College to include a firework display at its alumni reunion event to be held on Friday, June 3rd, 2022. And whereas the applicant has notified their local fire department, and whereas a certificate of liability insurance has been filed with the town clerk, naming the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application as submitted for a firework display to be held on Friday, June 3rd, 2022 at 9 PM on Vassar College property, Raymond Avenue, Poughkeepsie, New York. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Resolution number 10. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application submitted by Caroline Magnotta to hold a block party on Hollow Lane, Poughkeepsie, New York on June 11th, 2022 from 3 PM to 10 PM. And does hereby authorize the town of Poughkeepsie Police Traffic Division to close said street, but allowing access for emergency vehicles from 3 PM to 10 PM. And be it further resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby waive the open container law in the event alcoholic beverages are to be served. So moved.
Second.
Got a motion second. Any questions on this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Number 11 is just a liquor license
Okay.
for on premises for 260 North Road, Unit 1. For Lawful Genius Inc.
Do I read it? That's it?
Number 12.
All right, moving right along here. Number 12, be it resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie does hereby approve the application submitted on behalf of the American Legion to hold a car show on Saturday, June 4th, 2022, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at 50 Legion Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. And be it further resolved that a certificate of liability insurance naming the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured is to be filed in the town clerk's office. So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any questions this one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to the end of our meeting. I'd like to make the motion.
Oh, we got special
Oh,
consent.
we've got special consents.
Uh-oh, forgot about it. Sorry.
Well, we got this one too. And a special consent. Be resolved, Town Board, Town of Poughkeepsie is hereby grant special consent to the following items to wit. One, approve Friends of Peach Hills 5K run for the hill of it. And be it further resolved that upon the objection of a member of the town board, an item may be removed from the list and voted on separately. So moved.
Second.
The motion is second. Any questions on Peach Hill? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0.
Should the whole town board run in the 5K?
Sure.
Let's do it.
I'll meet you there.
Okay.
I'll meet you at the end.
Bring it up the water.
Be resolved, the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is hereby approve the application of Jim Challey on behalf of Friends of Peach Hill to hold a 5K run for the hill of it to benefit Friends of Peach Hill Saturday, June 11th, 2022. Location of which run is at Peach Hill Park, and be it further resolved, the town clerk is in receipt of a certificate of liability insurance naming the town of Poughkeepsie as an additional insured. So moved.
Second. So second. Any questions on that one? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. That brings us to the end. Make a motion to suspend the rules for any item at all. And please limit it to 3 minutes.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Doreen?
Thank you. So I know at the last meeting, Councilman Krakauer had suggested maybe having the board meet in some small committees to discuss the short-term rentals. I was wondering if that was happening.
Yeah, I spoke to Mike Welty, and I'm just trying to set up a date with him, and I think Councilman Carlos is gonna join in on that meeting, so we are working on that.
Okay, and I do have a couple of comments and concerns I'll probably just send to the town board in general for you to take into consideration. But the other thing I want to say is, Councilman Renahan, when you had talked, you said something about, I don't know, like noisy parties, or like not everybody was having noisy parties at, these Airbnbs, and I agree. But the one thing you have to understand, even if it's not a noisy party, like the one near us, they frequently, according to their reviews, have, up to 10 people staying there. And when it's, 11 o'clock at night and you have your windows open and, the house isn't that far from you, and even if it is just the 10 people outside, making some, noise, even if it's not a wild party, can be out of the ordinary for the neighborhood. So it's not necessarily, these wild parties like maybe you might have in some college neighborhoods, but it's just out of character with, the normal things going on in the neighborhood. So that's the only thing I wanted to bring to your attention regarding what you said at the last meeting. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Doreen.
Thanks, Doreen.
Is there anybody else that would like to speak? If not, motion on resume rules.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Renahan?
Be resolved that the town board of the town of Poughkeepsie is hereby adjourned to executive session to consider the following: to discuss matters which are exempt under the open meeting law, including matters subject to the attorney-client privilege, and be it further resolved that no action appropriating money will be taken. So moved.
Second. The motion is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Town board is in the executive session at 7:43 PM. Thank you, everybody, and have a great night.
Thank you.